Greetings, welcome back to my channel. This is Stasia Bliss. We are discussing Kundalini awakenings, and right now I'm in the middle of a series of the major arcana of the tarot and their relation to an awakening process. So welcome back. We are on the second card, which is card number 1. The Fool was 0 that we did a few days ago on the solstice. So it's been 3 days. I said every other day, but you know, it's every 2 or 3 days. I feel like as much time as is needed for the next archetype to arise. For me, I needed a down day. Yesterday's video was really like quiet, right? I needed that. And it's super windy, so I don't know if I'm gonna get this lit, but today we are talking about the Magician. The Magician. Oh, I think I even brought that card this time. Yes, the Magician. Love this card. There's so much going on there. There's all the elements present, for one, the pentacles, the cups, the sword, and the wand. So these are representing the 4 elements. I too am here equipped with my earth element, my fire and air. This is also my air element. The almighty pen. And my water as well, because sometimes I get a little thirsty. So the Magician is kind of like having access to all of the elements necessary to create, and going ahead and recognizing that you have potential to make magic. You know, I can light the incense or put down the pen on paper or turn on the camera and access the elements within the self, right? These elements are not just some external tool, though we can use, you know, external tools to symbolize what's in here, but the Magician is when you recognize that you're fully present, that you can be fully present in your physical body, the earth, with your mind, the air, the inspiration, the fire, and your emotional nature, the water, when you can bring all of those together, and also with the element of spirit. You know, he's got his wand lifted up, there's the element of infinity over the head, and look how present. So in the awakening process, we kind of move between the elements sometimes. You know, as Kundalini is moving up the spine, we can sort of have like these different chakra activations, right? We can have an emotional activation. We can really have a good idea. We can talk a lot about what's going on with us. We can really feel it in our body. Okay, I'm gonna blend this video a little bit because I told someone in the comments I was gonna make this video on Friday, I think, and I'm so sorry I did not make the video about, and I'm not even sure if I'm getting the comment right, so I hope so, talking about feeling a lot of pain and discomfort in the body as part of the awakening journey. So sometimes we do feel that way. I know I've felt that way a ton in my life. I've had to embody the physical in really like uncomfortable ways throughout my life. I've mentioned that on some of these videos with, you know, car accidents, being dropped on my head, and boating accidents, and scoliosis, and breaking my foot, and getting dropped down a flight of stairs, and like a lot of crazy body stuff, not to mention spider bites with reoccurring rashes, and oh my goodness, lots of crazy stuff. But that can happen in an awakening process, and we'll get back to the Magician, especially when we're very ethereal beings. We have a lot of ethereal nature. I am like dominant in my astrology chart in the air and fire department. I actually don't have really any earth in my chart, except for that my sun is at 29 degrees Sagittarius, so it's on the cusp of Capricorn, but it's only got like a pinky toe or like a couple of toes in, right? So my life and my awakening process has required me to experience the physical, maybe more than someone who has a lot in Taurus and they're like constantly filling their bodies. I've been very much mental and ethereal in my awakening process for the most part. I definitely like focus there. But earlier in my life was a lot of body stuff. So on the awakening process, we can reactivate or enliven the body, and actually we must really get into our body so that we can access magician archetype. Magician is like, oh, all elements on board. I mean, yoga is a very much magician activity because it's requiring you to have your body, your mind, your breath, everything centered, your awareness, all the elements of you present in order to move through these postures. And it really does turn on the deeper connection to do yoga. That's what it's meant to do, unify you with your whole nature. So the magician knows, or the magician's working with these principles, right? It is the first card. I mean, it's the second card, but it's the first card. The Fool is the first card. This one's actually like signifying a new beginning more than the Fool. And I don't want to get like hung up being all about the cards. These are just archetypal representations of stages that we go through in awakening, the hero's journey. But there's just a slight nuance, right, between the taking the risk and having the new beginning. But this is kind of like, okay, you took the risk, now you know, and the risk usually gets taken on you in an awakening, right? It's like this kind of risky situation where your body just finds itself, you know, with this influx of life force. So now this is the awareness that that's true. Sometimes magician can show up earlier in your awakening, just like you just spontaneously create stuff and you're kind of like, whoa, how did I do that? Like when I first was going through a Kundalini awakening, I could just spontaneously make this incredibly great poem by just flipping the dictionary all over. My partner would freak out. He's like, what are you doing? Ah! And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm just like string words together. And it was like I was in this universal harmony with the universe, and it was just flowing out of me, right? Sometimes people have that with songs. I mean, the first song I ever wrote did just come right into my mind, and just the tune and everything. And it was just like I had to quickly write it down. And I'm pretty sure that's how all musicians feel about their songs coming in. That's a magician moment. Or, you know, like the pieces are all just coming together. You know exactly what to do for this activity or for this party or for this person, or all elements are aligning for a particular job to open. That's the magician energy taking place in your life. You know, life itself is a flow of Kundalini and activation of all the different elements outside you, just like it is inside. So we can be having both magician experiences, the inner and the outer, where all the internal elements are combining and we're having that present moment. Or when we're watching everything line up in our life, you know, when that perfect night just manifests and you just showed up, and it's just like the magician. It's the magician. It's like fire creating this whole pot of nutritious food, because all the elements are combining and you are there and you are bringing the present moment. So these archetypes are powerful, not in that they just happen to us, but that when we identify them happening, we get the opportunity to see the symphony that's unfolding in life and go, oh, it's at this part of the song. And if you recall, like these archetypes are playing all the time in various pieces of our lives, very multi-dimensional symphony. It's very quantum. You know, Fool can be happening over here in this quadrant, Magician's happening over here, some of the other archetypal, you can be having a death process over here, you can be having a temperance moment, this is healing. So they're all happening. It's just as we identify, oh, this is a magician moment, we start to learn the language of life. You know, it's empowering to know the language of the thing that you're involved in, right? Now, it's not that you can't marry someone that speaks a different language than you and have like a great connection or whatever, but there's something about being able to go deep and understand and have a multi-complexual Is that a word? Can I just make that up? Experience with someone if you can speak a lot of the same language together. So this is where astrology can be cool, because if you have a lot of similar energies to someone in a chart, it can make connecting easier. Whereas if you have a lot of opposing energies, it can seem like clashing, you know, or if they're just off from each other, that also can seem like you're not in the same world. So the magician energy is when all elements combine to create like that perfect spark, and manifestation just flows, which leads us to the next cards, which we will get into in a day or two, or 2 or 3. I'm going to give you a day off in between these, and we'll talk about something else, or do a practice or something. But so kind of just look for where that energy is showing up for you in your body and in your life right now. We can have magician moments by just doing the practices, like doing our qigong or doing our yoga or doing, you know, whatever breath work we're doing, where we're becoming very present with ourself, and we're recognizing that our mind, body, spirit, emotions, breath, they're all synchronized and present and showing up. And then the magician, the manifestation, right? That's the alchemy can occur. So this is especially powerful if you're wanting to create something in your life, if you're wanting to bring something in. The alchemical magician moment is like the fuel for the manifestation, right? So if you're holding an awareness of something that you're like, yes, I really want to bring this in, and then you bring it to your yoga class, for example, and that's your intention, is you're going to know what to do for this business that you want to start, or you're going to know what to say to this person, you know, or whatever your intention is to manifest. And then you come into the magician like activities, right? Then you bring yourself present. You do a ceremony, or you do yoga, or you build a fire consciously, and you bring in song and breath and have a beverage, and you bring all the elements. This is like potent cauldron creation energy, right? So it's cool as we become more and more aware and awake to our lives, that we begin to see these archetypes dancing about, and then we can feel more interconnected. I mean, the fact that even this tarot deck exists, and like half the world is like, no, this is bad, and half the world is like, we like this, and there's this sort of rift in understanding some of these spiritual tools. I mean, these were created as tools by someone who understands the phases that our consciousness goes into, and the journey that we go on as a soul. And it can be helpful because when we start recognizing how these show up, you know, it's pretty normal that there's a flow through the major arcana to the next one in some way or another, and we'll talk about that more as we go. But inevitably you move from the Fool to the Magician. You know, I used to always think that was a big jump to go from the Fool to the Magician, but this is sort of like the awakening from Fool, like, oh, I think I'll try it, I don't really know, fumble, and then like, oh, whoa, I just had an awakening experience. This can represent just that, waking up and recognizing you do have all the tools at your disposal. Maybe you're not really sure how to totally fully use them yet, but you're on the path. You're on the path. So thank you for being on the path. Thank you for being here with me on the path. And I hope you'll visit again as we come back and talk more about the major arcana of the tarot and awakening and other stuff, and do some exercises. And if you haven't poked around at the channel, look at the playlist. There's some yoga practices, mantras, mudras, different meditations, including yoga nidra. Talk about acupressure. There's stuff about the body code, emotion code work that I do. If you are interested, and also a personal reading or any work on yourself, please do feel free to reach out. My email is below, my website is below. I do still take personal readings and sessions. I'm also a licensed minister. I'm a shaman. If you are having a ceremony, if you're getting married, or there's a funeral, or even a conscious uncoupling that's going on, or if you have the birth of a baby, or there's a rite of passage ceremony. These are things I love to come and assist with and preside over and help the transition be a beautiful one. So feel free to reach out to me about that, or speaking, or your retreats. And otherwise, just join me back here for my service to you, showing up to do videos at some point every day. I was doing it every day but one, but it just felt right to make this part of my daily spiritual practice, to be here with you. So thanks for showing up, and I'll see you next time. Namaste, and I love you.